Hi, it's Megan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 4 different super easy, super quick crock pot meals that are some of our family's favorites. These are great for dinner when you need something quick. They're super healthy, super filling. They're also very customizable and easy for everybody to get something that they like. And they also make really good leftovers either for dinners or for lunches later in the week. So I'm going to be showing you Cafe Rio chicken, a copycat Cafe Rio chicken, a copycat Cafe Rio sweet pork, what my girls call rainbow dinner, which is sweet and sour meatballs, and one of our family favorite pasta recipes called angel chicken. So let's turn the camera around and we'll get started. Here's what you need to make Cafe Rio chicken. You're going to need anywhere from 2 to 4 chicken breasts. You're going to need some garlic, some ranch mix. I just have my homemade version. You're also going to need a packet of Italian dressing mix. Again, I just have my homemade version. A cup of chicken broth, and then a couple teaspoons of cumin and chili powder. So this recipe is super, super easy. You're just going to start out by laying down your chicken breasts in your crock pot. This is also something that's easily scaled up or down. After I put the chicken breasts in the crock pot, I'm just going to put together kind of like my marinade mixture that I'm going to put on top of it. I'm going to start with my chicken broth, which is just water and bouillon. I'm going to add my ranch seasoning, my Italian seasoning, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of chili powder and a tablespoon of cumin, as well as a little bit of garlic. And then I'm just going to mix that all in my measuring cup and pour that all over the top of my chicken. Once I've done that, I'm just going to put my lid on and turn it on low, cook it for about 8 hours. You can also cook it on high for 4 to 5 hours if you want to. And then once it's all done, you just have to shred up your chicken. If you do cook it for that full 8 hours on low, it'll be very, very easy to shred. So I just have my meat masher. I'm just putting it in there to shred it super easily. You can also use 2 forks or your KitchenAid if you'd like. Because this had a lot of extra juice in it, I did put it through just a little strainer just to kind of get some of the excess juice out because we were using this for tacos and burritos tonight. And we just didn't want extra liquid kind of in that for us. So I just put that in the strainer and just set it over the crock pot to finish draining while I got out all the toppings for us to make our tacos. So this is one of our favorites. It freezes really, really well. So if you have any extras or if you want to double it and cook it, then you can just throw it in your freezer and it makes a great quick weeknight meal. We always serve it with cilantro lime rice, which just brings out the extra flavors and makes it really, really good. So this was the Cafe Rio chicken that we really, really like in my family. So here's what you need to make the Cafe Rio sweet pork. The original recipe calls for a 3-pound like pork loin or pork shoulder roast. I'm using a 7-pound, so almost 7.5-pound one today. But this recipe has so much sauce that you can easily use up to an 8, 9, even 10-pound roast with like the same amount of sauce and you'll be just fine. You also need a 12-ounce can of Dr. Pepper. You need a 10-ounce can of salsa verde or green enchilada sauce. I had to use a little bit of this, so it's a little bit less than the full recipe calls for, but it'll be fine. A 10-ounce can of red enchilada sauce. You also need some ground mustard, some cumin and garlic, and then you also need 1 cup of sugar and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So to start out, you're just going to cook your meat with the can of Dr. Pepper on low for 6 hours. And then you'll mix the rest of ingredients together to make more of the sauce. You'll dump that in after the 6 hours, cook it for an additional 3, and then you'll shred everything and it'll be ready to put into burritos, salads, tacos, pretty much whatever you want. So I'll turn the camera around and show you how that all comes together. So here I just put my pork roast in the crock pot. I put it fat side up so that the flavor from the fat will drip down and flavor the meat throughout the cooking process. And then I'm just pouring over my can of Dr. Pepper on top. Again, this is another one where it makes a lot of meat and the cooked meat freezes really nicely so that you can make this meal, freeze any leftovers, and then you will have them for another night that you need them. While I got that cooking, I just decided to make my sauce then since I had everything out. So I'm just pouring all of my ingredients together in my measuring cup, and then I'm just going to mix that all together and I'll just pop it in the fridge until it's time to pour that over the meat a little bit later. And after the meat was done cooking and I cooked it in the extra sauce, I just shredded it with my meat masher and then it was ready for tacos and anything else that you wanted it on. Okay, here's everything that you need for angel chicken. You're going to start with 2 chicken breasts. You can also use chicken thighs if you'd rather. And you're going to add those to the crock pot, and then you're going to make the sauce to add on top. For that, you're going to need a half cup of water with just a little dash of lemon juice. You're going to need a packet of Italian dressing mix. I just have homemade, so I usually use about 2 to 3 tablespoons. You're going to need a can of cream of celery soup. You can also use cream of chicken if you don't have cream of celery on hand. You need a 1/4 cup of butter and a block of cream cheese. So you're going to put that all in the crock pot, let it cook on low for 7 to 8 hours or high for 4 to 5, and then you can serve it. After that's all done, you will take out the chicken, shred it, mix it all up with your sauce, and then you can serve it over pasta or rice. We're going to use angel hair pasta tonight. So here, like I said, I just have my chicken breasts in the crock pot. Again, this is another meal that can be scaled up or down pretty easily. This does make a lot of sauce, so you can use up to 6 breasts if you want to. My family, just 2 chicken breasts is plenty for us. So I just added my water with the lemon juice, the butter, a can of the cream of celery soup, and then I'm going to add my Italian dressing seasoning mix. Again, like I said, I just have a homemade version, and so I just sprinkled in 2 tablespoons of that. And then I'm going to add my block of cream cheese on top, and then I'll just cook that on low, again, for about 8 hours or high for 4 to 5. I believe I cooked it on high this day because I started it a little bit later in the day. So my chicken wasn't quite as tender. It was definitely cooked, but I had to cut up my chicken breasts into chunks instead of shredding it, which is totally fine. So I started cutting the chicken breasts, and then I realized that I was going to want it to put it back in my sauce, but it wasn't quite mixed together very well. So I started stirring it with a spoon, and then I got out my whisk instead, and I just really wanted to whisk it to make sure that the cream cheese was incorporated and fully melted so that the sauce was nice and smooth. Then I finished chopping up my chicken and just dumped it in there. Again, if you cook it for longer, it's more easily shreddable. So if you like a shredded chicken, you can also shred it as well. But today I just decided to chop it. And then, like I said, we like to serve this over pasta. My husband prefers it over rice, and we usually serve it with salad or breadsticks. And it's just a really fast, easy pasta meal that my whole family really enjoys. And like I said earlier, again, it scales up and down really easily. It can make a lot, and so it makes really, really good leftovers. The flavors develop really good the longer it sits, and makes really excellent, flavorful leftovers. Okay, here's what you need to make sweet and sour meatballs, or rainbow dinner, as my kids call it. You're going to need 2 pounds, 2 to 2.5 pounds of frozen meatballs. You're going to need 3 bell peppers. Today I'm doing red, yellow, and orange. You're also going to need about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, possibly a little bit more at the end. You'll also need a can of drained pineapple chunks, an onion, and then some kind of sweet and sour sauce. You can either use a bottled sauce, or I will share the recipe that I use for my homemade sweet and sour sauce, which needs vinegar, soy sauce, garlic powder, sugar, and ketchup, which I forgot to grab. So I'll grab that in a second and show you kind of how to put this all together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put 2.5 pounds of meatballs just in the bottom of my slow cooker. Okay, and then on top of that, I'm going to add all of my chopped veggies and my pineapple. And since these are going to be cooking in the crock pot for a while, I kind of like to leave these to be a little bit bigger chunks than if I was putting them in another recipe. So kind of about this size. Okay, so next I'm just going to drain my pineapple. We always save the juice to have in smoothies or popsicles or just to drink. we'll just pour the pineapple up on top. Okay, and then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So I'm just going to sprinkle that on top. And then you're going to cover it in your sweet and sour sauce. So this is the sweet and sour sauce that I have just bottled, but I have time today, so I'm going to just make my own sauce. So to make my sauce, I need, I'm going to start off with 1 cup of vinegar and a 1/2 cup of ketchup. Okay, and then we need 1 1/2 cups of sugar. And then you need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Two teaspoons of garlic powder. And 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Then you just need to whisk it all together and pour it over your crock pot. Okay, and then you're just gonna plug it in, cook it on low for 6 to 7 hours, and then you can serve it over rice. You can top with sesame seeds, green onions, whatever you want to top it with. Okay, this meal also makes a really good and simple freezer meal. So since I have enough ingredients, I'm just going to double it. So I have 1 in the crock pot for dinner tonight, and then I'm just going to put 1 in one of my freezer bags, stick it in the freezer for another night when we need another dinner. At this point, you can add your bottle of sweet and sour sauce, or if you make your own homemade, you can add that in here as well. I don't love freezing liquids in the freezer if I can avoid it, just because then it's less likely that there's a mess or a leak that's going to happen. So to make this super easy, this is all I'm going to put in my freezer bag. I'm just going to seal this up, stick it in the freezer. So then just to keep this super simple, I'm just going to keep a bottle of sweet and sour sauce just on my shelf, as well as a can of pineapple. And then when I go to put these into the crock pot, I'll empty the contents of my whole bag. I'll drain and add my pineapple chunks on top. And then I'll top all of that off with my bottled sweet and sour sauce. So that way I can get dinner in the crock pot in like less than 5 minutes and it will be ready to go. So those are 4 of my family's favorite crock pot recipes. We cook these a lot, especially in the spring and summer as times are getting busier with more activities and it's getting nicer longer, and they are just some of our favorites. So if you like this video and are interested in more crock pot cooking, more of our other family favorite recipes, especially for days that are busy, make sure you leave a comment down below and like this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.